right. One more minute. No,
Okay, you're off the clock.
ah, man.
Who here? I am from
Then we have just some other people.
Family coming in.
There's some people that just, my two biggest cases,
And you're like, no, absolutely
they were not all,
you know my role.
they were both,
Oh wait, no, that's not family first. I had
at least
that.
according to parents of LGBTQ, so they tortured those kids. They had other kids, but I guess some of those are just bad people. Those are really like sick individuals that,
Yeah, 4-2.
Whenever you guys are ready, take seats. You want this and get this thing
so
started.
yeah, so
I didn't know you did both of those cases, yeah.
yeah. So we get some of those evil people, hateful people.
That's so crazy to think that this is.
All right, shall we get started? First of all, thank you to all of our speakers for agreeing to be here today. Professor Gustin will introduce them in just a second, but I just want to kind of get started and welcome you all to our roundtable on Proposition 50. My name is Eric Altenburn. I'm a professor of history here at COC as well as director of the Institute on Ethics, Law, and Public Policy. My colleague in the Institute is Professor Phil Gustin from the Department of Political Science. Here's our information if you can snap a photo. I'm standing here. Anyway, if you want to snap a photo, but anyway, that's our contact information. The mission, our sort of mission statement for the IELP here, the Institute, is to foster collegiality among faculty, staff, and students by hosting events that harness on and off-campus experts to analyze current events important to both the college community and the general public. I'm hoping we have some people from off-campus here. I mean, we have speakers from off-campus, but hopefully some of you in the audience are from the general community. And a lot of our events do bring in people from the community. So before we get started, I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page by just providing some basic information about Proposition 50 and the special election. The information here is just straight from the Secretary of State voter guide. So it's just factional, but I'll just read it kind of quickly. Proposition 50 requires temporary use of new congressional maps through 2030. Directs Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to resume enacting congressional district maps in 2031. Then establishes a policy of supporting nonpartisan redistricting commissions nationwide. The fiscal impact is sort of the one-time costs of up to a few $1 million statewide to update election materials to reflect new congressional district maps. So a yes vote on the measure means the state would use new legislatively drawn congressional district maps starting in 2026. California's new maps would be used until the California Citizens Redistricting Commission draws new maps following the 2030 U.S. Census. A no vote on this measure means current congressional district maps drawn by the California Citizens Redistricting Commission, or simply Commission, would continue to be used in California until the Commission draws new maps following the 2030 U.S. Census. All right? And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Professor Gustin to introduce our speakers who are going to speak on the pros and cons of the proposition. Thank you again for everyone for coming. If you're a student or faculty and you're looking for some kind of extra credit or flex credit, we do have sign-in sheets, so feel free to sign in.
And then we'll keep them up here, so if you want to come down afterwards, you can sign it. We'll be hanging around for a little while. So again, my name is Phil Gustin. I'm a professor of political science, the assistant director for the Institute on Ethics, Law, and Public Policy. Our four speakers who are going to be talking today have graciously agreed to do this, so thank you all. On the far left, we have Jack Teoli. He's the vice president of the Political Science Club. Andrew Taban.
Sorry.
Taban is a member, a former chair of the Santa Clarita Valley Democrats. He's also worked for two California Assemblywomen. He currently serves as a special assistant for the Office of the Los Angeles County Assessor. On the speakers speaking against proposition are Jonathan Atami. He's district attorney in the complex child abuse section of the Office of the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office. And Calvin Garangan, he is the president of the Political Science Club. Now this is being sponsored not only by the Institute, but we have other clubs. So we have the Political Science Club, amply represented up here on the panel. Very good. Other members of the club, just stand up real quick. Go on, don't be shy. Or the political science club. Very good. Very good. The event is also being co-sponsored by the Civic Engagement Club and the Helping Us Become, or HUB Club. I want everybody from the closed clubs to stand up and be recognized. And Michael is going to come down and speak for a moment about the clubs and what they've meant to him, and then we will begin with our proceeding here.
Thank you.
You bet. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so I'm just going to give a quick, just how it's helped me. I kind of got jumped into this, thrown into this one today. So, the Civic Engagement Club and Helping Us Become Club has changed the way I view the college experience and the world. I didn't think at my age, I'm an older student coming back later on in time, that I would have a place to be a part of. There are many clubs, and that while you are figuring things out, it is nice to have a place to start that has meaning. Some are already in the right place, and we support that. Some don't know, and we can lead them to that. But we will always have a place within the community and your peers to find it. This is the goal, finding your place in the world. We can do anything, and we can do everything. Thank you very much.
Okay, and with that, we'll get our program started. So here's the format that we're going to use. First, the people speaking in favor of Proposition 50 will have 10 minutes to give their presentation. Then we'll switch over, and those arguing against Proposition 50 will have 10 minutes to do their presentation. Then we're going to go back and forth with questions. The pro side will ask the con side a question, the con side will ask the pro side. We'll do that twice, and then we'll open up the conversation to everybody in the audience if you have questions that you want to ask, things you want to say. I'm just going to ask that when we get to that part, avoid long speeches if you can, but we do want to have a discussion, engagement, and you're welcome to ask questions of the panelists as well. Once again, thank you guys for coming. We very much appreciate it, whether it's students or members of the community or family members supporting their sibling or son. So thank you very much. And with that, Jack.
Hi, everybody. Well, first off, I want to also thank the Institute, Civic Engagement Club, and the Helping Us Become Club, as well as Political Science Club, for hosting this today. And I want to thank all of you for coming today as well. All right, now let's get to it. I want to make it clear from the very beginning, and I think I speak for both Andrew and I when I say this, we're not happy that we voted yes for Prop 50. We like the Independent Commission. We like free and fair elections. And we like free and fair redistricting. But I'm also pretty confident when I say, I think the first 10 months of Donald Trump's second term, he's been relatively unpopular with very unpopular policies. You know, he is gutting health care for millions of working class Americans. He is slapping tariffs on items he can't even pronounce the name to, which is raising the prices for all of us at the grocery store. He's given $40 billion to a foreign leader just because he likes him. And all in the meantime, given a nice big tax cut to the wealthiest 1% in this country, because you know they deserve it. And that's not even including the massed ICE agents going into the streets, going into innocent civilian communities, and essentially kidnapping regular individuals, depriving them of their due process, and sending them to countries that they've never even been to and they're not even from. And so, for me, at least, it raises this question. What's going to happen if Donald Trump holds on to the House and the Senate after 2026? And the answer I can give you is I really don't know. I can't tell you. But what makes me worried is that I was asking the same exact question last November. What's it going to be like? And I'm very comfortable with saying it's way worse than I ever could have imagined. And so, we're seeing it right now. We're seeing him order Pam Bondi to go after his political opposition. Letitia James, James Comey. Two people, there is little to no evidence at all they've committed crimes. And those cases are likely to get thrown out. And so with all of this, instead of Donald Trump reversing course and passing policies where the majority of America is going to approve of him, he doubles down. He calls a handful of Republican governors, like Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and he tells them, steal me House seats. I want to maintain power. Steal me House seats. And in my opinion, that's wrong, and it's scary. It's a threat to democracy. He is trying to maintain power, and he is willing to disregard the voters' preferences. And so, Prop 50 is the counteract to that. It is California's action against what Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Donald Trump are doing. You want to know the big difference, though? California's letting the voters decide. Everybody in this room, except for the kids, they all get to vote. Everybody here gets to vote and make the decision. You know, Texas's politicians are making the decisions for the voters. Here in California, love them or hate them, the politicians are letting the voters make the decisions for them. And so, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to be pretty short today. Sometimes, you got to vote for what's best for your state, and other times, you got to vote for what's best for your country. And in my opinion right now, the United States is in a crisis where we have a handful of people in very powerful positions at the federal level who are so willing to maintain power that they're willing to ignore and disregard the voters' choices. So up until November 4th, every one of us, we have the voice and we have the option. Let's use them wisely. Thank you very much.
You have 5 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay, perfect. Hello, everybody. I'm not going to stand. I'm sorry. My name's Andrew Tabon. By a quick show of hands here, how many of you are students of the college? Okay. And then also by another quick show of hands, how many of you have already voted for the proposition or already know exactly how you're going to vote? Okay. Fantastic. I don't know why some of you are here, but I am glad that a lot of the students are here. For those of you who haven't voted or have come with an open mind, I thank you. I just want to get a gauge. I know that there was a call to action by some political parties to come here tonight. I'm glad to see some of our usuals here. It's good to see you again. I'm here today to speak on behalf of voting in favor of Prop 50, not just as the founder of the local Democratic Party, but also just as a regular concerned citizen, which I hope at least half of the crowd in this room is tonight or today. One of the reasons why I think Prop 50 is so critical is, unlike the other states, as Jack mentioned, it does put the authority of how redistricting goes into the hands of the voters. So I think that is actually one of the most critical things. The good thing about it is if you don't like the way the districts are going to be drawn, you have the opportunity to change that until the next redistricting commission I believe reconvenes in the next census and then redoes our districts again. Something I do want to express is I've heard a couple of things going around that, this is the beginning of how we're going to go back to partisan redistricting. The good thing about Proposition 50 is it's only temporary, and it's to temporarily hold a pause on a proposition that was passed by the voters. The only way to completely undo that again is by going to the voters. And if the voters decide that, that's just what will happen. That's the beauty of democracy. I don't like that Donald Trump is the president, but that is the beauty of democracy. You have a majority vote. So I think that's really the most critical part. Another aspect of this is the finances that are being spent on Prop 50. I'd much rather have the voters be deciding what's going to happen with our state than the legislature decide how we're going to be drawing it. and giving us no voice at all or the opportunity to undo what they plan on doing. The same, however, people who are complaining about the costs had no problem when it comes to the failed recall initiative against our governor, which spent millions of dollars and was a safe bet within 5 minutes of the election being called. So I think it's a fair discussion to have today, and I'm glad that we have all the students here and as well as the opposition. But I'm glad you're all here. I'm really looking forward to mostly actually hearing your questions. I think when you gave the presentation already of what yes and no meant, I felt like that was a pretty much done deal. It's a very small bill. So that's all, and thank you so much for being here.
Ready? Okay. My name is Jonathan Atami. I graduated here in 1997, a long time ago. And then I went on to Cal State Northridge, and then after that, law school. And so I love College of the Canyons. My wife is a deputy out here, and she went to school out here as well. And so I'm very appreciative of being invited here to speak. Here's the first issue regarding just the statement for yes on Prop 50. All the issues such as immigration, gas prices, grocery prices, these are important issues. They're important to all of us. But voting yes on Prop 50 is not going to magically make all those things disappear. And you can't just blame every single problem that we have in this country and in the nation on Donald Trump. You just can't do that. We've had a lot of these problems before he became president. We're going to have a lot of these problems after he leaves as president. And so just voting on one proposition is not going to magically fix all the problems that we have here in this country. And there are a lot of problems that we do have, and they need to be looked at. But that's not going to help that. Political gerrymandering is bad. It is bad no matter if Texas is doing it. It's bad no matter if California is doing it. What happens is all of you pay the price, and politicians get the power. I'm a Democrat. I'm standing up here before you, and I'm letting you know that as a JFK moderate Democrat, partisan gerrymandering is bad. We end up with politicians who stay in power. We can't get rid of them, and they're lazy. They don't have to really work hard because they know their district is secure and they're always going to win. That helps nobody. We can't get new people into office with good ideas. That's the problem with partisan political gerrymandering. Number two, for many of you who don't know, in 2008, we voted to have an independent bipartisan committee that would make maps. There were 5 Democrats, there were 5 Republicans, and there were 4 independents. We all voted for that. And in 2010, we created maps. Can you put the map up of Santa Clarita? This was the map we had in 2010, and we still have this map. This is our community. This is Santa Clarita. This is what's going to happen if you vote yes on Prop 50. All of Castaic is going to be part of Santa Barbara. All of Castaic. Canyon Country, Agua Dulce, and Acton are going to be part of Glendale, Burbank, and West Hollywood. It is going to ruin our community. What happens is you have representatives that, too many of them, we can't get the services we need, services for the foster care system, services for children, services for veterans. It's horrible. If you just look at it, this is partisan gerrymandering. It takes all through Santa Clarita, and it ruins our community, and it ruins our representation. And here's the other thing regarding this situation. If you really care about immigration, if you really care about children, if you really care about grocery prices, if you really care about gas prices, we're spending over $300 million on this election. How about giving that money to needy veterans? How about giving that money to the foster care system? How about giving that money to help people in public safety instead of giving it to this nonsensical election that we're doing? I get it. A lot of people are mad at the president. And then a lot of people like the president. This has nothing to do with the president. This is our community. This is Santa Clarita, our community. And either you want to keep our community the way it is with one representative, or we're going to break it up into different pieces. And Andrew's right. This will change at some point. But here's the thing. It's not going to change because of Prop 50. It's going to be changed because of every 10 years we do a census anyway. So don't let anybody tell you that all of a sudden we're going to go back to a different map. We have to go back to a different map anyway, because every 10 years we change as well. And so it's not good. Prop 50 is not good. I know it's become very political. And I know everybody thinks about things in the term of the president this or the president that. But I'm telling you, the safety of children, the safety of our community, how we provide support for individuals has nothing to do with the president. It has to do with all of us as a collective group. And all of us as a collective group should support one another locally. Pay attention to your local elections. Volunteer. Realize this, not everything has to do with the president. A lot of things just have to do with all of us. And so I'm asking you, you should vote no on Prop 50. And it doesn't mean that I don't believe in some of the things people believe on yes on Prop 50. It means there's better ways to do things. Better ways, and this isn't the right way. Thank you so much.
So, I just want to bring it back to the local level. I'm a Santa Clarita boy. I've lived here all my life. And if Prop 50 goes into effect, I live right there. I won't be a Santa Clarita boy anymore. I'll be part of Santa Barbara, I believe, which doesn't really make sense considering all the services, all the nice stores I like to go through. My school won't be part of where I vote from, which a lot of voting materials are relevant here. I actually voted here in College of the Canyons, I think up there, or actually down there. And my life will change. And a lot of other people, that's the exact same scenario that will happen. All the people in places like Hillcrest, downtown Castaic, North Castaic, North Lake, all these places, and then even over there, won't be part of Santa Clarita, and I think it's not an ideal situation. And I know it's temporary, but temporary things do have a tendency to become a consolidated reality after a while. Just gonna change this here. So I like how you brought up that the independent commission has the bipartisan commission has 5 independents on it. And I'd just like to preface this. I'm a registered Republican. I feel like I have to sort of get that out there just so I'm not hiding anything. Republicans, make up 1/4 of the electorate, 25% if Independent Voter Project is to be believed, and back in 2005 it was 34%. Independents make up 6%, or actually closer to 7%. And that's 1.5 million people. That's a lot. I'd just like to also point out that California's state senate and state assembly do reflect that accurately. 1/4 of 40 is 10, and 1/4 of 80 is 20. However, if you look over here in the House of Representatives, California provides 52 seats to Congress, but only 9 of those are Republican seats. And down here, if I highlight, if that works, there we go. 9 out of 52 is only 17%, which is not quite 1/4 or 25%. And then Democrats make up 82%, the remaining 43 seats. And to bring it back to independents, none of these seats are held by independents, even though independents do make up, if we go back, 1.5 million people, or 6% of the electorate. And if Prop 50 is to go into effect, this is outdated kind of. This is from a 2024 article before the 2024 election, but this kind of represents what this whole thing is about. This is Congress, or at least the House of Representatives, and California is here. This is outdated because this is, I believe, 12 Republican seats, which was narrowed down to 9, and that was democracy. Those Republicans deserve to lose because those people those candidates couldn't convince those voters that they should have those seats. So imagine 3 of these red dots are actually blue. If Prop 50 goes into effect, they're going to cut this down even more. And so if, as I've just shown, Republicans are already not represented fairly, or at least distribution-wise represented fairly, then this would make it even more so. And that's why I think Prop 50 is, you should vote no if you still have got time and if you still haven't decided yet.
Okay, so
Exactly
we're-
10 minutes.
Pardon?
Exactly 10 minutes.
Exactly. That is very good. So we're going to start off with either Andrew or Jack asking a question of Jonathan or Calvin. You guys can decide who's going to respond, and then we'll just go back and forth, and then we'll open it up to the audience.
Oh, we're asking each other questions.
Yeah. Okay. So I am intrigued by so if we redistrict, Santa Clarita is not going to be broken into little chunks and thrown to Santa Barbara. I don't think that's happening. At least I certainly hope not. But I guess so we discuss representation. When we're looking at redistricting, we're looking strictly at congressional maps. The assembly members remain the same, councils remain the same, school boards remain the same, water board, dog catcher, county, all of it stays the same. Now, there was never complaints during redistricting when Santa Clarita was part of Simi Valley. You don't not become a Santa Clarita boy when you become when we're chunks of Antelope Valley. So representation will still be there. Representation is critical. I mean, when we were the 25th congressional district and our congresswoman vacated the seat, we were still the 25th congressional district. And our congressional member doesn't disappear. We're still a part of them. So my question here is, what exactly do you think happens to Santa Clarita when we just become part of another geographic location, but we're still represented by a congressional member?
So I guess I would say that the first thing is that I don't consider myself a Santa Clarita boy. I worked in Antelope Valley for 10 years. I have a lot of children up there that I've fought for, children who have died, children who were tortured and murdered. And so I do a lot of my cases in Antelope Valley, so I'm very, very close to the community up there. I've lived out here for 40 years, and my kids were born out here. My wife works out here. So I consider myself part of this collective community, which includes Antelope Valley and Santa Clarita. And I think a lot of people do as well. That being said, we have one congressperson, it's George Whiteside. He's a Democrat. And so if all these things aren't happening, the first question I would ask you is why? I mean, he is a Democrat. So technically, all these problems that you claim are happening, he should be able to solve them all. But he's not even here to answer those questions. And so that's the problem right away. Is it's a false premise that all of a sudden it's going to help individuals with all these issues because we already have a Democratic congressperson. We would end up having 3. So all my friends in Castaic, and a lot of deputies live there in Castaic, and a lot of my friends will have a different congressperson. And then my friends in Agua Dulce and in Acton and in Canyon Country, some in Canyon Country, will also have a different representative. Those representatives won't even live in Santa Clarita. We'll have one probably living somewhere in Santa Barbara, another one probably living in Glendale or Burbank. So people in those areas will not get the best representation where you have one actual congressperson who lives in our community, the Antelope Valley or Santa Clarita, and actually can service everybody. Number 2, you're going to have these communities that in those areas that are can be confused who they're supposed to go to for different services or whatnot. I just feel that it's better and more conducive to our community, our Santa Clarita community, which includes Antelope Valley, where I grew up, where I went to high school, where I went to college. It'd be nice if it's represented by one congressperson, and that congressperson would come to these things and would be receptive to all of us and can provide services for everybody. I think breaking it up is going to make it a lot more difficult And the other thing is it's going to cause a problem where I think these individuals, we're now going to have 3 Congress people, and maybe they won't even be good. You know, maybe they'll just feel like they can win that position just because it's all heavily Democratic. I like a system where we're helping everybody, where you're helping Democrats, where you're helping Republicans, where you're helping independents, where you're moderate, where you look at different things and you try to figure out different ways to do things. Why can't we do that instead of getting so to one side or to the other? And that's why I feel like it'd be better to have one congressperson. I can ask a question if that's okay.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest question is, can you tell the audience, without mentioning Trump at all, why they should vote for Prop 50? That's really my question. So, because I just don't think about Trump a lot. I think about a lot of other things in life. And so I just want you to give the audience a reason to vote for Prop 50 that has nothing to do with President Trump.
Listen, really, sure, exclude the president. That's fine. I really don't. Yes, I do think about the president, but even without him, doesn't it bother you that California, with the Independent Commission, and like I said, I like the commission, is playing by a fair set of rules? Meanwhile, the rest of the country, especially in the South, is essentially cheating, is essentially disregarding the representation. And I have a question actually regarding population following this, but you know, really it's a damn shame actually, because in 2021 there was a bill during the Biden administration called H.R. 1, and one of the parts to H.R. 1 actually would have mandated nationwide independent commissions for each state to redistrict. And it passed the House on party lines, actually. No Republican voted for it, so that means Mike Garcia voted no. And no Republicans voted for it in the Senate. It died in the Senate. And so I have a really tough time believing that some people in this room are so for free and fair redistricting when our congressman could have voted yes for it, along with many other Republicans up in D.C. And Jonathan, all I can say, Mr. Atami, my apologies. My apologies, Mr. Atami.
No, you can call me John.
What I can tell you is, I think we just simply see this issue differently. I think you see this more as a California issue, and I think I see this more as an American democracy issue. I think American democracy is simply being threatened by a political party. So, in my mind, popular sovereignty is the most important part to this country, the people having the highest authority in the United States. So, that's how I feel. You guys take it how you like it.
Amen.
That's a statement without the president in it.
I honestly didn't think you could do it, but
You did it.
I tried.
You did a good job.
Thank you. So my question's pretty quick. It could almost be a yes or no answer, actually.
That's the way to get right to the question.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. We want to get to the people. So, yes, that is true. Democrats make up 80% of the seats in Congress. Republicans make up about 17.5% or 20%. But that also applies in Texas, where Democrats make up about 45% of the seat or of the population, of the registered voters in Texas. And like I said, I see this as an American democracy issue. This isn't just about California, in my opinion. And they only make up about 30 to 25%. And that's Texas. But isn't it possible that Republicans live in downtown Los Angeles? Isn't it possible that they live in, uber blue San Francisco? Isn't that possible? Like, couldn't it just be that not everybody in the state is split? People on the left live on the coast and people on the right live closer to Nevada? Isn't that possible? That registered voters mix in areas. Is that not possible?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
we have 1 million Republicans here in LA County.
Right.
They live all over the place.
Yeah.
I think it's good that we have different parties and different viewpoints and different individuals. However, you want to make sure that they all feel represented. And so the percentage issue, I think he's right about, which is that you want to make sure that people in the country all feel like there's somebody out there fighting for them. And so when you do partisan gerrymandering, what you do is you take away hope from people. People who want to say, hey, I can relate to that person, I support that person supports what I support. And so that's the biggest thing, And remember this with Texas, just so you know. I don't agree with what they're doing in Texas. I'm totally against it. However, Texas was sued by the Biden administration regarding gerrymandering, and as a result of that, they did what they did. And so I don't necessarily agree with when people say the president called somebody or this. Maybe that happened. I don't know. But I can tell you the reason that they did what they did is because of a lawsuit. The same thing that the Supreme Court now is addressing, which may make all of this moot. But that being said, I think it's great that we have different parties and different people in different areas. However, I think everybody needs to feel represented. And so you do have to have Republicans and Democrats and independents. Instead of, if you gerrymander, what happens is I think you take away that hope from people. And then you have a large group of people, especially here in Santa Clarita, who feel like nobody's, this is a very purple district. It's a very moderate district. You feel like people aren't supporting them and their positions. They support, helping children, parental rights, things of that nature, that they want people out there fighting for them and their position, and you have to respect that. And I think that's what's great about this country. I think when you gerrymander, it's really going to ruin Santa Clarita. It's going to take away a lot of people's hope. People are going to get frustrated, and you see what happens if you watch when people get frustrated regarding politics. It could turn out badly. And so I just feel that everybody should have the ability to feel like somebody out there is representing them. And a lot of people in California don't feel like that's the case. And I think this is going to make it worse for everybody. I guess that's the statement I'm
A
going to
quick
make.
follow-up question.
Sure.
Just real quick. I'm bending the rules a little bit. Did the courts also mandate that Florida and Missouri and Indiana and North Carolina and Oklahoma were mandated to redraw their maps?
No, but
and
I don't.
Louisiana?
Yeah, but I don't agree with that either. So here's the real issue. I think you're right. You're looking at this thing as globally. I'm very much into trying to fix things locally.
Sure.
I think it's much easier to try to do things on a local level, improving our community locally, dealing with our school board, dealing with our schools, helping children in the foster care system, helping with resources. All of that is locally. Volunteering in our food pantry, helping people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol, dealing with the fentanyl crisis. Those are all local issues that locally we actually can do something about, making our college better, making our schools better. Those are all local issues that really have nothing to do with national issues. The president plays a small part in everything that we deal with in a daily life. I think that things have changed so much under Trump that everybody just gets so fixated one way or the other that they just go crazy. Instead of actually talking about normal things, normal and reasonable people talk about. So you know what? Maybe things are happening in Florida and Texas. I don't really care. I care about the children here in Santa Clarita and Los Angeles. I care about what I can do and what I can affect to make my community better. I get it. Yes, everything locally ends up being national, but there's only so much I could do. I'm just one person. And so I'm going to try to do things that can help my community here and help the people in my community here. I think that's a better way of looking at it. And I think it manipulates the voters when they think if you magically vote for Proposition 50, all of a sudden everything's going to get better. And you know it's not. The gas prices won't drop. Grocery prices won't drop. The immigration crisis won't end. Housing prices here won't drop. People won't miraculously get better schools. None of that's going to happen. That's the problem. And I think what it's going to do is going to make it worse. It's going to make it worse for everybody instead of better. And we're just going down this track of making things here in California worse. And I think we just need to focus on California instead of focusing on what's happening nationally.
I have great news for you. Locally, the elections will change. So, just federal.
Okay, who's got the next question?
One more question.
You want to ask a question?
I would like to ask a question, but I also didn't respond to either of those questions before. So I'd like to give a little response
Yeah.
for.
So,
Jump in there.
students are the ones having trouble following the rules.
Sorry. Let me gather my thoughts here real quick. Right. So, on that point you made about it is possible, I agree that Republicans can live in very blue LA or very blue San Francisco, because there are people there who exist. But I think more clearly what we have is a case of cracking and packing. Up here is NorCal, and people up here like to actually call themselves the state of Jefferson. There's a whole history on that. But and they are a very conservative community. NorCal is known for very family-based and kind of right-wing individuals, which might not jive down here. But over here, this very conservative community has been added to the coast and then also just added here. And they are now represented by a Democrat. And that is a clear example of actually cracking and packing, both cracking and packing, because it splits up their district and adds it to another. Here in Central Valley too, and actually us down here, which we were talking about, so I don't want to get into that, and San Diego, or at least. I'd just like to say that I know this is all in relation to the midterms, or at least from your point of view it is. And you're very much focused on national politics, which you are allowed to be. But what this sort of looks to me is like, why is this necessary? I also disagree with what Trump is doing in the South and what Trump is doing in Texas. But I don't think that then justifies to do the same thing here. And I know you have said it is up to the people, but it was also up to the people to vote for the independent commission. And we passed that many years ago. And so I would just say, like, it seems like the actions of a party who are not confident in their ability to win and win fairly and have to create their own sort of cheating system in response to another party's cheating system, which I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that either. Oh, I think there's one. Yeah. Oh, was I supposed to ask a question too?
How about letting the audience ask questions?
Oh,
That's
so
right.
what
Yeah.
was the question?
Yeah.
If anybody has a question, raise your hand, and I'll just try and go around the room. Woman with the green, yes. Hi.
I live in Castaic in North LA County. I share services with my neighbors in San Diego, like the I-5 corridor, the water services, Castaic Lake. Tell me, doubling down on the Trump challenge, tell me why I should vote yes without talking about Florida or Trump.
Sure.
So, I guess this is the part where I get a bit confused with this, is nothing necessarily changes on your end other than your representative.
An hour and a half away.
On the federal, I mean, when it was, Steve Knight, who lived in the Antelope Valley, was another hour away. So your representatives, who are also mostly in D.C. or in Sacramento, are not frequently in the districts, but they're still fighting to represent you, or they should be, ideally. So this idea of where they are geographically, it doesn't necessarily make sense. Congress is also the only office that you are not required to live in the district, which is absurd. I am not saying I'm for that. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But you're not required to live in it. So I think when it comes to representation, there's a responsibility of both the elected official and also the public. Because I think something that we are seeing often with both parties, by the way, this is not just a Republican issue or a Democrat issue, is we are and this is going to be a very bigger picture thing, trying to hone in, so sorry, is you have very wealthy people buying elections, representatives who don't really need to hear from the public, winning seats. And this is the problem that we're seeing with, the nation, is you're having people who are completely out of touch, and then we have people who are pretty apathetic to what's going on, and they vote, but they don't know necessarily fully what they're voting for. So I would say that's probably the biggest issue. So there's a responsibility on the general public that we have, that we need to hold them accountable, we need to be engaged, we need to be informed and educated, but also on the representative that we need to push on them to make sure they represent. I understand the feeling of I didn't feel represented or people across the country don't. I certainly didn't in Santa Clarita. It was under Republican rule for 42 years until 2018. So I don't think the services will change. It is the responsibility of your representative, and I come from a legislative office. The thing is that I want most people to know, and I have some other counterparts who work in elected offices here, while this all happens on a day-to-day basis of partisanship, your elected officials that office isn't partisan. They don't care. I remember when I worked there, they called, they're like, I hated you, I don't vote for you, and I don't care about you, but can you help me? It's not the best way to start a conversation, but it's our responsibility to do so. So if your representative, regardless of districting or not, fails to do that, then yeah, they should be removed. But I don't see the services changing.
But I believe my question was, why would it benefit me if I live in LA County and my representative is in Santa Barbara?
So you said your issue is specifically though,
My question was, why should I vote yes if I live in LA County and my representative is in Santa Barbara?
I think that depends what your key issues are. And I say that because a lot of issues fall within the state jurisdiction or the county jurisdiction. But if you're looking at federally, and if it's assumed that, right, a Democrat takes over, and it is assumed that the midterms switch the House, then you would probably want a Democrat representing you in the majority party. So right now it's the minority party, so that really doesn't help too much.
And I want to keep in mind, hold on, I want to keep in mind, yeah, none of your local offices are going to change. Your districts are not going. Your water board's going to stay the same. Your school board's going to stay the same. COC Board of Trustees will stay the same. Pilar Schiavo will still be your representative. Well, that's what you always have the option to vote her out.
I'm not a big fan of our politicians. Now we're going to have 3 instead of 1, so we're going to have more politicians instead of less.
To me, that sounds like
And
more
so
say.
that just sounds horrible.
To be clear, you'll still have one. The area would be represented, but every individual still has one representative whose job is to represent you.
But let me get back to the wonderful lady's question.
I want to get more voices.
Great, go ahead.
Can I just finish it with this? If it doesn't benefit you, this is the beauty of California putting it on the ballot this November. You get to vote no. You get the option. Unlike other states.
Somebody go to the side.
I'm a student at COC.
Make sure we know who you're addressing.
My question is to the negation, not to those who I put no.
Oh, no, okay.
I just want to clarify because it seems like this issue comes down to a fight against federal democracy versus individual state representation. And we've heard the reasons on the fight against to protect democracy. I want to get more clarification from you guys on what exactly changes from the point of view of those living within the districts that are affected. What changes in the everyday life of people living within that district that calls for this greater protection against some people see as a fight for democracy. Like what changes directly?
So in 2008, we created a bipartisan district to deal with this. So we created this bipartisan district of 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 4 independents to draw these maps out so people can be properly represented. And Andrew's right when he talked about Simi Valley, which seemed to be so much far removed from Santa Clarita, but was part of our district for a long period of time. So they create this bipartisan commission, we all vote for it, to make it fair for everyone. So we have these maps that actually properly represent everyone. So the map we have that I showed up there shows Santa Clarita and Antelope Valley. That's our district, which is Congressional District 27, governed by 1 congressperson. It's going to split that now into 3 separate districts, 3 separate congresspeople. First off, that's not going to help anybody here in Santa Clarita. There's all sorts of services that the federal government partakes in. There's all sorts of services that the federal government gives money to. All sorts of services, a lot of different things. And so I think it's better if we have one congressperson for the entire Santa Clarita and Antelope Valley. One congressperson to talk to. One congressperson to get information from, to get help from. If somebody wants to believe that you should split Santa Clarita, this is a community. We've had a community out here for a long period of time. We've all been part of the same congressional district for years, many, many years. All of a sudden now, because we're mad at Trump, we're going to separate this area into 3 districts. I don't think it benefits anybody. The bipartisan commission didn't think it benefited anyone. And when they say they're going to take it back and bring it back to how it used to be, well, then they're telling you the same thing. The governor is telling you that this is bad. They even started off by saying that this isn't a good thing. So if everybody keeps telling me that this is bad, this isn't a good thing, it's only temporary, we're just doing it to fight Trump, you know who gets screwed? All of us do. That's exactly what happens.
Gentlemen, with, I think I know the nature of the question. I don't want 50.
What's your name on the right? I'm sorry?
Me, Jack.
Jack. So you mentioned HR 1,
Yeah.
and I got just a series of yes or no questions because that's what you like. We passed a constitutional amendment in California that established the Citizens District, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. You brought up HR 1 and said the Republicans didn't vote against it, correct? Or voted against it, correct?
They voted no, yes.
Right. So how do you explain Newsom ignoring the California Constitution because he didn't like whatever Texas, Florida, whatever, and what makes you think he wouldn't ignore a federal law?
Well, I'm actually really glad you brought this up, actually.
Because he
You
ignored
know,
California law, so.
Like I said, I love the independent commission here in California. We all should. We all should love the commission.
And why change it?
Can I finish? Can I finish? All that was a nationwide mandate. California would not change from HR 1 in that sense. It was asking every other state to have an independent commission. And right now, we're seeing the ripple effects of voting no on that. We're seeing, like I said, you're seeing this as a state and local issue. I'm seeing this as a federal and national issue. I'm seeing Texas and Florida and Missouri and Ohio and Indiana, and there's probably others. Oh, Wisconsin's another one. I am seeing them completely disregard independent commission because we wouldn't be in this situation. And as for Gavin Newsom in California, I simply think he just sees what Texas and Florida and Missouri and Indiana and Ohio and North Carolina and Wisconsin are all doing as wrong and unfair. And to think that, Calvin brought it up earlier, he said that the Democrats seem to be scared since they're rigging. They're changing the maps. Well, shouldn't Donald Trump and Greg Abbott also trust that they're doing a good job instead of changing their maps, instead of not asking their voters what they think? And so, and going back, and excuse me, sir, excuse me, sir, just let me please finish.
You guys.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Nope,
Guys, please. I don't mind people having different views. I think that's
Can I
fine.
finish something real quick?
We're an institution of higher learning, and we make sure that when we have discussions, we listen, let people finish. I don't mind the applause. I think that's kind of. But let's all be respectful. Okay. Gentleman sitting next to Eddie. I mean, actually, go ahead and then.
Well, first of all, you guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I really appreciate actually have a civil, respectful conversation. So congratulations. I have one question for you guys and one question for you guys. Number one, you keep talking about Florida and Texas and what they're doing today. Are you willing to concede that that's actually a reaction to the fact that Massachusetts, Illinois, and New York have virtually no Republican congressmen? That their gerrymandering is already wiped out. There's not a single Republican congressman in all of Massachusetts. 3 out of 20 in Illinois. Okay, so all that's actually happening is a rebalancing. And then to the no side,
Right.
aerospace. is a critical industrial, economic organ of Antelope Valley and of the 27th Congressional District. I've already been told, because we have offices in both of those cities, that while every person in Civ Mill and China Lake is still being paid because they're considered essential, potentially 70% of all the Civ Mill jobs, because of the shutdown, are not coming back to Edwards. They just won't need them. Number two, because aerospace is so critical, won't the fact that 40% of all of our growth, all these people who came here for those jobs, are now going to be cut away to Burbank and Oxnard, right? All of a sudden, make it that much harder for the 27th district congressman to fight for those federal dollars to stay when Defense Tech has already ripped all those dollars out to Texas and Florida.
Was that for us or was that for
One and one.
First question's for us. Do you want to answer or you want me to answer?
Go for it.
All right, cool. All right. So, you bring up Massachusetts, and that's fair. I'm not saying 60 years ago Democrats were not gerrymandering. But you know it's bad when Scott Walker, the former governor of Wisconsin, he gets enough representation, and he's able to completely flip-flop the representation in that state. You know, in 2012, Democrats received over 50% of the vote. Yet Republicans held over 60% of the seats in population. And so it goes back in representation. My apologies. So, to me, yes, Massachusetts, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. But does that give, I could see where one Republican state responds, but I don't see where Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Indiana, Ohio, I don't see where all of those states go, oh, well, this state that has 6 electoral votes and 4 members of Congress, or however many members of the House the state of Massachusetts has, you know what, we're just going to completely rig our maps where we have 29 electoral votes and 27 House members. See, that's how I see it, sir.
Can I have a little follow-up with you? So my question is, I guess kind of also for everybody here, would you be in favor of a nationwide mandate of an independent redistricting commissions across the...
Supreme Court's going to fix that, aren't they?
Well, I don't know. They haven't fixed much so far. So... That wasn't my question, though. My question was...
part of the way of fixing...
But my question for you... Is it, though, if they allow it?
That takes one of the key drivers behind the ridiculous gerrymandering maps that we see now.
I'm for it.
So
Very
here's...
driven by that.
But if the Supreme Court says it's fine, and now we're all on a war with it of how this is going to go.
I'm in favor of it. I'm saying there are mechanisms that are happening right now because this is a three-branch government.
Sort
right?
of.
They're all supposed to check each other, right? Whether we like it or not. And that is a massive. Forget the 5 votes. Depending on how the Supreme Court rules, 19 districts will flip.
But I'm asking you...
For Republicans.
But I'm asking you if
It's
you're...
not Supreme Court before. That's the way it works.
But I'm asking you if you'd be in favor of it, because the beauty of the United States is it's governed by the
As an Asian who's
people.
tired of being discriminated against because of my race, I can't wait
For...
for discrimination to stop based on the color of my skin.
I agree.
Okay, to be discriminated, the chances of my kid, I can't, the chances of my kids because of the color of their skin to get into the schools that I went to my Western, 30 times harder. 30 times harder just because than other students because of the color of their skin. That's just wrong, it's un-American. Okay, so I can't wait for that.
Okay, so I appreciate it because I think everybody here is against discrimination, but I'm going to hone back in on my question, which was, would you be in favor of the entire United States going to independent redistricting, where it's determined by Democrats, Republicans, and independents?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it.
By a show of hands, I guess how many of you would be across the board?
But not that really mattered. If you actually require the state to make
There
those
it is.
decisions,
Okay.
you
I'm in
need the
favor.
state because
I'm gonna,
the 5x4 is a
you
joke
guys,
here.
excuse me, I'm gonna step in.
I'm going to answer the gentleman's other question. So I think that question goes back to what the student asked. So locally, things like aerospace, CEMEX, our juvenile camps, things such as the funding for the sheriff's department, all of those things are affected by federal funding. And if you have one congressperson, it's so much easier to deal with that person to get those things accomplished instead of having 3 congresspeople, because this community is governed by one sheriff's department. We have one CEMEX issue. We have, one issue regarding aerospace. We have one major juvenile camp. And so that affects everybody in this community. That's the problem, is our community is all affected by issues. This college represents everybody in the community. It's nice if you can have one congressperson who deals with that. It just makes it easier for everybody else. It just does. And so that for me is another reason. I'm very much into just locally. I get what they're saying, and I respect what Andrew and the students are saying. I do. And I think it's important in our community to respect other people's opinion and at least listen to them and say, hey, maybe that could change my mind, maybe that won't. And I think they care about the community just like I do. I think we just see things maybe just a little bit differently. And that's okay. I'm a lot older than them. I've been through a lot more than they've been through. And so when people go through things in life, they just see things a little bit differently. And so that's just for me how I see things and what I'm dealing with. I'm also a dad. And so, yeah, those are big responsibilities for me. And so everybody sees things a little bit differently, and I'm okay with that. That's how this country is so great. And I'm so happy that I fought for this country, and I'm a part of it, and I'm able to stand here, all of us, and speak for it. And I respect everything that they're saying, and I think they're honorable individuals for what they believe in. I just see things a little bit differently because I want to help people locally. And I can care less what the president is doing, and all these people are going crazy about that. I just want to help people here. And there's ways I think you can do that that's easier. And voting for this proposition is just going to make it worse.
Okay, hold on 1 second. So we build this as going from 4 to 5. And so I'm going to put these guys in an uncomfortable position, but I want to apologize ahead of time.
We'll be here till 9 p.m.
My kids are going to lose it over there.
Maybe I'm talking to the wrong people.
yeah.
You guys mind hanging out for a little while longer?
Is that okay?
Okay.
They want McDonald's,
There we go.
so we're going.
Someone DoorDash these children McDonald's.
So do you guys mind hanging around for a little
That's
bit
fine.
longer?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, there we go. So I'm going to let Eddie go because he's a faculty member, and then let me go 1, 2, the gentleman over there. So 1, Eddie, then what's your name? Abby.
First
And
of all,
then you
thanks.
are? Roger. Okay, so Eddie, go first. And make sure you address it to who you want, Claire, who you want to address it.
My question to the group is, how can we, or why, perhaps, should we divorce ourselves from what's going on nationally? I think Jack makes a good point in terms of, I think a lot of politics happen locally, but I think it's naive for us to say, we're only Californians, we got to focus only on California. That may be easy for us to say. I think it's kind of naive to not pay attention to what other states are doing because inevitably, it's probably going to come here. But even most importantly, it would be easy for me to say, I'm not worried about my friends at Ohio State. I'm not worried about my friends at Georgetown, who are losing, or let me rephrase that, who have lost federal funding. So I think it's a bit naive to say, let's not talk about Trump. So I know people personally outside of California who are losing millions of dollars doing healthcare related research because of the wording of their RFPs. So I think it's, no, I'm not going to say, well, I'm not going to talk about Trump because they are being affected locally and certainly nationally by policies that he is pushing. Now, does that mean that everybody has to buy into that locally? No, which is what I said earlier. I think politics, the rubber meets the road locally. But I refuse to say, let's not talk about Trump or the rest of the country. I think we're being myopic by doing that. So I would like y'all's opinion about
how can we say, yeah, we're just safe? I get that part. But how can we say we're just going to be oblivious to what's going on around us?
Individually, you could actually talk about everything that's going on in society. But do you know what's going on in Africa? Do you know people are getting killed there day in and day out? No, you're talking about worldly. You're talking about you just said let's talk about things worldly. My dad's in the Middle East. Do you know what's going on there? So these are big issues that deal with a lot of different things. But you just said the country. So we're going to exclude the world. So just the country, not the world. When you say let's talk about the country, let's talk about the world. There are people dying all over the world. Exactly, we do get it. I personally can't affect that. What I can affect is making children safe here. What I can affect is trying to help my kids who go to school. What I can affect is having better schools. What I can affect is having better roads. What I can affect is having better communities. What I can affect is having better businesses, lower gas prices, lower grocery prices. Those are all local issues. Doesn't matter, I don't think nationally. I do think nationally. Both my parents don't even come from this country. So I think about a lot of things going on outside the world. I do. But what can I affect as far as the proposition goes? I can affect what happens here. I want my schools here to be better. I want the children here to be safer. I want my wife to be safe on patrol. I want the sheriff's department to be properly funded. I don't want CEMEX to be blowing up mines out here and endangering people in our community. I want people to have jobs. I want to help the homeless. I want to help the veterans. Those are all local issues that we can work on locally to fix. Once you start talking about these gigantic global issues, things that are happening in different countries, things that are happening in Florida, things that are happening in Tennessee, it becomes much more complicated for one person to try to fix that situation. Not to say that it's not important. It totally is important. But there's only so much we can do at any specific time.
I agree. Yeah. And I'll say this in closing. I think, now this is my opinion, I don't know how you roll in your life. I think you're selling yourself short in that, yes, you do. You can have an impact on what's going on globally. So you say, I can't do anything about people in Africa or in Israel, whatever. I think you can. How can you? That's why in part why we're here. We're about the fundamental context of why we're here is about what happens to our votes.
So
we all have a vote, and we elect people at the local and the national level. The people at the national level, they have an impact on international policy.
So what kind of impact are they having?
I think you do have.
What kind of impact? Our congressperson's a Democrat, and he's done nothing. So what are you talking about? Like, that's the problem. It's like, hold up. And you may be right. He is in the minority, and so if we change here, hold up a minute. If we change California, then every other state's going to change, and you're still going to be in the minority.
You guys, I'm thrilled that everybody's passionate. I'm thrilled that you guys are passionate. But let me remind you again, we are in a college, okay? And what we do in our classes, Eddie knows this, there's other faculty here, we encourage civil conversation and civil discussion. And to the extent, sometimes bigger issues are implicated, and that's fine, but my job as a moderator is going to be try to redirect it back to Proposition 15. So,
I'm military. If you try to out-yell me, I'm going to try to out-yell you. So just deal with it.
Can I answer?
What are you answering?
His question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. As long as you're answering the question.
No, yeah. You were done?
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. We have actors, we have attorneys, we're just one heck of a panel. I do actually agree, and I know you said we kind of agree, but the one thing I think this is where the divide is, where I don't agree with the counterpart here is, you are correct. Our votes do affect everything nationally. How you can affect what's going on locally and nationally is by voting for Prop 50. And I say that because, like you mentioned, I'm the vice president of the food pantry, and we are getting federal cuts as we see an increase in people coming. We are seeing one of the worst economies we've had. We had a job market report that is atrocious. I don't really care who you're blaming. The point is, okay, you guys, I'm the panelist, thank you. So the point is we're seeing an economy that's going bad. I come from still the panelist. I come from a small business family that is already seeing difficulties, and at the pantry alone, we're serving now over 10,000 clients a month. These aren't unhoused population. We have like maybe 300 people out of the 10,000 who are unhoused. These are nurses at Henry Mayo. These are your neighbors, people you know or don't know. And when we see it, and the whole point of Congress as to why this is so important to close that margin is Congress holds the purse. And as many people who hold the purse in real life, you know that's where the cash is and what the family functions on. And that determines funding and the values. Your budget is a voice of your priorities. And when we look at things being cut, no one in here complains that there is waste happening at the military. Nobody says, well, they had $750 billion and $10 billion disappeared, they wasted it. But the United States Postal Service, which is also a service, they said, oh, well, they're wasting $10 billion. It's not a business. The government is a service to the public. That is why it is governed by the people. So when we talk about looking at Congress and why it's so important, it's who holds the power of the purse? Somebody who's going to give billionaires tax cuts, which nobody in this room is going to be a billionaire. And if you are, talk to me after. But the whole point is, and I don't think anybody here disagrees with that, both parties have failed the middle class. Everybody here is being squeezed. I make more now at an older age than I ever did, and somehow I'm struggling now more with a better income. It doesn't make sense. And I think this is the reaction. When I voted for Pop Biden, it wasn't because I loved him. It was because I want to stop the bleed. And I think this is what this comes to. There are some people here who I keep hearing grumble who, that's fine, they love what's going on. I don't know if they have an ounce of empathy or humanity in them, but they love to see what's going on. And that is fine. But the point is, I don't like what's going on. I don't like seeing children ripped from their parents. And I know what happened under previous administrations that were Democratic ruled as well. It was wrong. It was wrong. It was bad. I was going to use a totally different word.
I'm glad I stopped you.
It was ducked up. But I think that is the point of this, is I'm not saying the United States is going to get better, but I'm saying, which you are correct, our problems will remain our problems. But I'm saying it's enough to stop the bleed and put a hold on what I see is absurd administration that is unchecked. It is not checked by Congress. The United States was built for a president like this, but we were not built for a Congress that has no spine. It is the point of balance. And Congress does not have a spine. We can't even get the Epstein files released or get somebody sworn in to get that single vote. So, and I think for the last 4 years, we have seen a failed Congress, the least effective Congress with both parties in control. So that's the problem that I think when I see with Prop 50. I want to see a pause. I want to see us be better as a general public. And I again, I'm the panel. You be it next time. So the point is, that is the point of Prop 50, and it'll return, and it will return by the next redistricting commission. But I do agree, local issues are critical. That's why we come from nonprofits, or we do what we do. But I think there's a responsibility as a nation.
Okay, to try and get as many questions as I can, I'm going to ask the panelists to be brief in their responses.
We have 15 minutes.
Okay, so
15 more minutes, and then we do have to wrap it up.
Abby, go. And then, okay, right. Abby, Jerry, is that? Roger, and then.
These people are passionate.
Okay, so go ahead.
My question probably won't be as lively as
Oh, we can make it lively.
Thank you so much, by the way.
So I heard you say the word pause, and that's part of why you're voting for Prop 50. So that kind of revolves around my question. So my issue with Prop 50 is that Gavin Newsom is kind of like, or not just Gavin, but I'll use him, is like what they're doing is so wrong, so I have to do it too, to stop them. And that's my problem with it. And so my question is, if we keep doing this tit for tat, like what you're doing is wrong, so I have to do it to stop you, where does it go from there? And do you really think that this will end after the census in 2030? Like, will that really right things?
So I have had this battle in my head as well, right? Tit for tat usually never goes well. If any of you have a sibling, you know that does not end well until mom and dad come in the room and yell at you too. However, I think when you are in the face of what is atrocity and you don't react to it, I think you're just as bad. And I think that is what the question is on Prop 50 is. Everyone says, don't talk about Trump. He's literally mentioned in the bill that it's very difficult to not talk about him. And whether you love him or hate him, I mean, listen, I can't stand the guy, but I also think some of the things he says is funny because I tend to wonder, wow, this is a president, not a comedian. So it's a little weird. But and I do wonder, right, where is this going to end? And I do think we need to have these kinds of conversations. I think it's so critical. And I even say this as like a person who is the head of the Democratic Party, right? We all focus on the show of it. But I think at the end of the day, you have to do things like this. There are people at the top of that staircase or whatever who I don't agree with. But Cindy and but after meetings, we go and we have a conversation, or we run into a mall, or run into each other at the mall, not run into one, and we can. She pushed me into the mall. No, but. Yeah, but I think we need to have those conversations. Where we're headed as a country is insane. It is what Russia wanted all along, a collapse from within, and I think we're headed there. And it is, while I do agree that this is an important proposition, and it is, again, to put a pause and stop the bleed, I think we have to come together again as human beings. And I think a lot of that fell apart in the pandemic. I think we forgot how to socialize. But I do think we have to come together because the way we're headed is we are going to see the collapse of an empire, whether it be economically or politically.
So that was brief.
Yeah.
We need to get a dictionary in. Talk about the meaning of the word brief. Go ahead.
My question is, I've heard the
No, I already talked up. I already pointed to him, and you were next.
Don't forget stage right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
So I've heard the argument of the single representative becoming a more streamlined effect on creating funding for your local area. But when Congress, which holds the purse, and some of these bills pass with 1 or 2 votes, wouldn't it be better to have 3 votes for your area?
So what's going to happen with that is after California does what they do, every other state is going to then do the same exact thing, and we're going to have gerrymandering in every state. And if you look at the statistics, the Republicans will be in the lead, not the Democrats, by a lot more. They will. The statistics, you can shake your head all you want. I know the statistics. And so
You're addressing me.
you're not. Stop.
Please.
So doing 2 or 3 wrongs doesn't make a right. And so at the end of the day, there are some people who believe in just doing the right thing. Even if maybe you're in the minority, even if maybe you're just one person speaking out, I believe in doing the right thing. And the right thing is you keep the Independent Redistricting Commission. I think that's a good thing. I'm fine with every state doing that. I think that would be a great thing. Illinois is the most gerrymandered state of all the states. You just look at it. It's horrendous. People feel like they're not represented. I believe in communities. I grew up here. I went to high school here. I went to college here. I came back and I was a prosecutor here. I've raised my children here. I like this community. It's a part of this community and a part of the Antelope Valley. I'm not saying I don't like Glendale and Burbank. I have a lot of friends there too. I'm not saying I don't like WeHo. I got a lot of friends there as well. And I do love Santa Barbara. It's a beautiful place. But this is my home. And I want it to be represented by one person. And I want to be able to communicate with that one person. And I want to have one person stand up and fight for us. And that's why I believe it.
I was sitting here, alright, I go by she, them pronouns. I'm neither Democratic or Republican because I just believe in a civilized society.
Amen.
But Prop 50, I'm Afro-Latina as well. How will this affect me? Like, I'm scared of being deported. How will this affect me? How will the discrimination in society, in California, how will Prop 50 affect me personally? I'm just curious.
So immigration is a very, very complicated issue. My parents' parents don't come here. I'm probably in the middle. I believe in a path to citizenship. Now, if you're hurting people or committing crimes, yeah, you're gone. You got to be out of the country. We have too many criminals already. However, there's a lot of people who grew up here, who lived here 20, 30 years. Some of them I fought for. Some of them are family members who lost their children to murder. And most people want to figure out a way to make it where they could stay here. But that has to go through Congress. And so the first question you need to ask everybody, has anybody in Congress even brought this up? Rarely anybody does. Now, our congressperson hasn't. Come up with a solution. There has to be a solution. And so that has nothing to do with Prop 50 per se. Immigration is a very complicated issue where I think a lot of people need to come together and really talk about it and come up with a humane approach that is safe for everybody. So if you're committing crimes, yeah, you're gone. But it's a way to be humane enough to where we're not separating families, where children get to be brought up with their moms and dads.
What happens if I vote no? What happens to me if I vote no?
Well, if you vote no, we keep the congressional district the way it is. So I don't see it. More politicians is not going to make it any better. It's just, I wish politicians up in Congress would sit down and really go over things and try to find humane ways of getting things accomplished. But I just don't think they will. I think they like people fighting each other. People need to understand that politicians want power. That's what they want. And they're okay with people fighting each other. Instead of coming with some common ways to do things, to figure out ways to help individuals. The border needs to be secure. So what happened for the last 4 years is horrendous. But there has to be a humane way of trying to fix that issue. And so it requires everybody sitting down and actually compromising instead of fighting each other. And I just don't see that happening. I wish it was. I see how you're looking at that you want it to be fixed. But I think a lot of our politicians nowadays don't want things to be fixed. They just like to fight each other. And it's either for Trump or against Trump. And that's all everybody ever talks about. And they get so upset and so riled and so emotional and so mad. Instead of actually thinking, most of us here, I believe, actually care about our community. We just see things a little bit differently. But I do think in general, we do have some consensus. We do think that the redistricting commission, the bipartisan commission, is a good thing. So I just don't know. No matter how you vote on the proposition, I don't think it's going to fix the immigration issue. We have a sanctuary policy here in California that just doesn't help people, and so you're not going to fix it by that. You need actually Congress people in Congress to make changes, and I don't think they're going to do that. I wish they were, but I don't think they're going to. So I don't know. And ma'am, I see how emotional this is for you, and I'm sorry. Remember this, everybody in this room, we care about you. We do. My dad doesn't come from this country. He's Muslim. My mom's mom doesn't come from this country. I think it's the best country in the world, even with all of our issues. It really is the best country in the world. Go to other countries and see it is. But can we make it better? Of course we can. And so talk to your friends, get people to support you, look out for one another, and if I can do anything to help you after this is over, please talk to me. I'll do my best.
I don't want to see this country fall into like a million pieces.
Me neither. Nobody here does. Nobody here wants that. Nobody.
We only have 6 minutes left. Let's.
I'm gonna let Jack say something, and then I'm gonna call it. I know some of you wanted to ask questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them.
Phil, what I was going to say is I'm hurt and watch this guy raise his hand. He's been raising it for about an hour now. I'll take your question.
There have actually been quite a few people who've had their hands up, and it's hard to get to everybody. Do a quick question. This will be the last one, and then we'll go. And hopefully we'll get a brief answer.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for the attention.
Okay, let me address the gorilla in the room, and truth is, we have a whole family of gorillas. But do we want a nonpartisan board of people, and my uneducated guess is people join and leave that board all the time for redistricting? Do we want that, where the people actually have some input, or do we want a hyper-partisan, leftist bunch of politicians, and it was addressed earlier before, fat, dumb, and happy, that really don't care about us. They care about their own power, and that's the end of that, okay? Second, Trump has nothing to do with Texas.
Okay? Texas got sued into what they're doing by the Biden DOJ. Okay? And Trump reached out to them and said, hey, we got this thing that has to be done. Got to get it done because when the elections come about, you guys have to be solid. Whichever way it goes. Trump really doesn't care too much about a few votes in Texas. Okay? He doesn't. Okay? If you think about it. Okay? Look at it from a national level. Okay? And then, last, real quick.
Is there a question mark?
The question is, do you want nonpartisan or hyperpartisan?
I'm really.
Which is your preference?
Oh, I want nonpartisan,
Well, then why
independent.
did you vote for the hyper?
Okay, well, wait, you asked your question.
Listen, sir. Hey, listen, sir. What's your name?
My name is Len.
Len, I'm Jack. I completely understand your concern. I do. I want bipartisan commissions. I want Democrats, Republicans, and independents making the decisions on who represents who in the state of California. But, however, I think that should also apply for Texas and for Florida and for Missouri and for North Carolina. We kind of do, though. However, we kind of do. For who we vote at the... Hold on, let me explain.
Okay.
Do you mind if I explain? We vote for our members at the federal level, correct? We voted for Mike Garcia back in 2020. Yes, okay. Didn't I say that H.R. 1 was on the House floor back in 2021? Did I say that?
I believe you did.
Did I say that Mike Garcia voted no for it?
I believe you did.
Okay, yeah.
Point.
Proves my point. The Republicans didn't want bipartisan nationwide independent commissions back in 2021. That is a direct effect. We vote for that federal member of Congress, and he has the decision. That's what I'm saying. So we actually do have an effect on what happens in Texas. We failed back in 2021. That's simply what happened. We needed Republicans from the House and the Senate to come together and say, hey, you know what? Partisan gerrymandering in blue states is wrong. Partisan gerrymandering in red states is wrong. What you're seeing right now, sir, is you're seeing another squeeze by Republican states to grab a few more members of Congress. And it's going to be even worse. The bleeding is going to be way worse if the Supreme Court guts Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Because you're going to see racial gerrymandering. So,
Okay, wait. You guys, I am going to call it at this point, okay? I want to thank the panelists. Thank you all.
Very much. You did a good job.
For all of you for taking your time to come here to College of Canyons and hear about the issues, thank you guys very much for coming.